Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Buhari and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Buhari.
I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thank you guys, as always, for joining us. This week, we've got Jaron Ennis in the house, fresh off his big win Saturday night. We're also going to talk to Chordale Booker, who returns this Saturday. Plus, we'll recap all of last weekend's action. Look ahead to this Saturday's Fox PBC Fight Night featuring the return of Tony Harrison. And in today's toe-to-toe segment, we'll unveil our top 10 list for the welterweight division today. But Mike, first, a blast from the past. Evander Holyfield will be returning to the ring against Kevin McBride, a man who beat a shell of Mike Tyson over 15 years ago. McBride is 47 years old, which is relatively young when you realize Holyfield is 58. Fight is scheduled to take place in June, and of course, it's an exhibition. Mike, what do you make of all of these old fighters coming back all of a sudden?
Well, first of all, my reaction to this one was Kevin McBride.
Right.
Holyfield was in talks to face Mike Tyson in an exhibition, which made a lot of sense, at least from a money standpoint. But they couldn't come to terms, and now he's facing Kevin McBride. I would say that's quite a bit of a drop-off. I understand the thinking in this case. McBride is the last man to fight Tyson in a sanctioned bout, as you said. Maybe Holyfield beats McBride or whatever happens in an exhibition and then moves on to Tyson. I don't know. I was a huge fan of Holyfield, but I'm not into this at all, which sort of leads me into answering your question specifically. I get this trend of older fighters coming out of retirement to fight again. Tyson fought Roy Jones, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. is fighting Miguel Cotto, Juan Manuel Marquez, Eric Morales. I mean, I can go on and on. Oscar De La Hoya is talking about it. I get it. Suddenly they have this way to make money, sometimes a lot of money. Right. Tyson and Jones did pretty well from every indication. So why wouldn't they do it? And some people like it, obviously, because they're buying into it. I just don't. For me, it's like an old timers baseball game. It's quaint. It's quaint for about a minute, and then it gets kind of boring.
Right.
But honestly, I think this might be a trend we'll have to live with for a while because there's money on the table.
And, I can understand some of the marquee names and marquee matchups. I don't know how I feel about Kevin McBride. I don't know if the casual fan remembers that Kevin McBride beat Mike Tyson. It just sounds so completely random. But I suppose there's a method to the madness here, and maybe Holyfield's setting up for the third fight by beating the man who last beat Mike Tyson. But I'm not too convinced about this particular matchup.
Yeah, you know what? Then you throw in all the YouTube guys and stuff. I'd like to, in my perfect world, we're just talking about real boxers. But you know what? It's a business too. If there's money to be made, people are going to go after it.
Yeah, that's right. Can't knock the hustle. All right, enough of the hot takes, though. Let's move on to that real boxing with the PBC Fight of the Week. It's the return of Superbad. This Saturday, April 17th, former WBC World Super Welterweight Champion Tony Superbad Harrison takes on Bryant Perrella in a 12-round, 154-pound bout. The Fox PBC Fight Night tripleheader begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox and Fox Deportes, and we're going to start here with the essentials.
Okay, here we go. Harrison, 28-3 with 21 knockouts. Perrella, 17-3, 14 KOs. Harrison's 4-1 in his last 5 with 1 knockout. Perrella, 3-2 with 1 KO. Harrison was last in the ring in December 2019. Jermell Charlo knocked him out in 11 to regain his title. Perrella last in the ring February of last year. Abel Ramos scored that crazy knockout with 1 second to go in the fight. They both actually have pretty good knockout ratios. Harrison 68% and Perrella 70. Harrison 139 rounds, Perrella 78. Harrison's 30, Perrella 32. Harrison turned pro in 2011, Perrella 2012. Harrison fights from an orthodox stance, Perrella from a southpaw stance. They're both 6'1". Big reach advantage for Harrison, 76.5 to 72. As we know, Harrison is from Detroit and Perrella is from Fort Myers, Florida.
Okay. Well, it's great to see Tony Harrison back in the ring. It's been nearly 16 months. Plus, he lost his father and trainer, Ali Salam, to COVID last year. Do you think these factors might affect Harrison on Saturday night?
Well, I don't know about the layoff. They both have been off for quite a while, so at least they're like in the same boat in that regard. And I had a chance to talk to both of them actually several days ago. They both said they had great camps. I know everybody always says that, but it sounded like they really did. Both of them were really excited about the work that they'd done. Will the corner change affect Harrison? I guess we'll see if we do get a sense for it. And of course, he misses his dad, which is the main thing. But I think he also misses him professionally. Yeah. And obviously his brother doesn't have the experience his dad brought to the table, which was a lot. Tony told me he feels good having LJ in his corner, though. His dad, I guess, was an old school disciplinarian. LJ apparently is more of a modern coach who doesn't operate that way. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing necessarily, but Tony definitely likes it. Tony said told me that he definitely likes it, so he feels good about things.
Now, what about the other side, Mike? I mean, Perrella is now working with the new trainer, boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. What did you make of that change, and do you think that's going to improve Perella's chances?
Well, first of all, it was kind of accidental. He told me, he said he was just going from gym to gym, working out, doing this, doing that. And he landed in Jones' gym. Jones saw him sparring with somebody, he was impressed, and then one thing led to another, and here we are. He absolutely gushed over the time that he spent with Jones. It's been like a kid in a candy store for him. Perrella said he's learned a lot in a short period of time and sort of has a new lease on his career. At least that's the way it sounded to me. I think Jones has refined his technique to some degree, but he's also really lit a fire under him. Will that be enough to overcome a talented guy like Harrison? I don't know. We're going to see.
Yeah, for sure. And the last time we saw Harrison was in that brilliant battle against Jermell Charlo back in December 2019, a fight where Harrison was stopped. What about that loss? Could the KO defeat perhaps affect Harrison mentally heading into Saturday night on Fox?
I always wonder about that, and I think it depends on the guy. I think most guys are fine with it. Some guys aren't. I think it just depends on the person. In Harrison's case, the fact, he lost his dad and lifelong mentor shortly after that also could contribute to any problems that he might have emotionally. So he's got a lot going on. I see Harrison as a pro, though. He's been doing this a long time. He knows setbacks are part of the game, part of life. I just have a gut feeling that he's going to be fine.
And I assume you are picking him, or who you got?
You assume correctly. I wouldn't sleep on Perrella. He was a good amateur. I noticed that he actually beat Regis Prograis in the Olympic trials.
Oh, wow.
And he lost to Errol Spence, but he did beat Prograis. He was a good amateur. He's a very good boxer. He's got some power, as I mentioned earlier. I think he's got a chance in this fight, especially if Harrison isn't 100%.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure Perrella is quite at Harrison's level. I see Harrison as one of the best in the business in terms of ability. The setback against Charlo aside, I think the fight will be competitive, but I think Harrison will win by a clear decision.
Yeah, the more I studied this fight, the closer it became, and not because I was worried about a pick or anything like that, but when you look at Perrella, when you study Perrella and look at what he's accomplished, you realize this may be a much more tougher task for Harrison than a lot of people realize, and then you add that wrinkle with Roy Jones Jr., who knows what to expect on Saturday night. I'm going with the safe money. Safe bet being Harrison is going to win a clear decision, maybe even a late stoppage. I'm leaning more so toward a decision, but I think it's a very dangerous fight. I think it's a competitive fight. And, look, Perella's got that power. So, who knows what can happen. Now, just a reminder, in our prediction league, I'm 10-1-1. Mike is 9-2-1. That will not change this week. Now, in the co-feature on Fox PBC Fight Night, undefeated super lightweight prospect Omar Juarez takes a big step up versus veteran Jesse Roman, and another unbeaten prospect, Vito Melnicki Jr., kicks off the action on Fox at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in the televised opener against James Martin. But before fans head over to Fox PBC Fight Night, be sure to check out the prelims on FS1. It's going to feature a bombs-away cruiserweight match between Efatobar Apache and Damon Nicholson. And someone who will be returning on Saturday night. He is an undefeated 154-pound contender. He'll be facing Nathaniel Gallimore, and he's making his first appearance on the PBC podcast. Let's welcome Chordale Booker. Chordale, first, how has training been going for you?
Training has been great. This is my first time doing a camp. I went to Tony Harrison's camp.
Oh.
I was out there because he's fighting southpaw, Bryant Perrella. So I had the opportunity to be in camp with him. And it was amazing for me because, to be real with you guys, I never trained that hard in my life. And it just showed me what the level of dedication I really need to push myself to.
What'd you learn from Harrison during the camp?
The one thing I took away the most, I would say, is finishing strong in every aspect of training, mentally and physically. That was something that I took away from him and his brother. They always told me, man, finish strong. You know, whether it was running, sparring, hitting the bag, you know, playing chess. It was, you know, that's their mindset. You know, finish strong. No matter how, you're not done when you're tired. You're done when you're done.
Gotcha.
Give us your take on your opponent for Saturday night.
I think Gallimore is a tough opponent for anybody. He comes to fight. He comes forward. He sits down on his power. But I feel like I have really good movement. I can fight inside. I can fight outside. I'm a southpaw, so that also works in my advantage. And I think that with those things that, you know, I'll be able to offset his power and make him have to, you know, be a little more move around the ring and set up his punches more than like the times that he wins, where he just walks forward and knocks the guys out.
Now, you last fought in November. You won a close decision over Sonny Duverson. Do you believe your performance was affected by the 18th month layoff you had?
Well, yeah, it definitely was. It also was that I didn't get the proper training for that fight. Also, as far as, you know, COVID was kind of fairly new, and it was my first time fighting, and we had all these restrictions about sparring partners, doing COVID tests twice a week. So I was very worried about getting COVID. So I didn't travel to get sparring, and gym time was limited.
You also had surgery on your Achilles tendon in August 2019. Were you fully recovered by the time you fought Duverson?
Yeah, I was fully recovered. It was still something that was, you know, bothering me during like running sessions or like jumping rope. But as far as moving in the ring, I was fine. I didn't have any soreness during that night.
You injured the Achilles during sprint training, I understand. How did that happen?
I did a sprint, and then I went to, you know, backpedal to go backwards, and it just popped. So I guess it was something that just happened over time.
Crazy. That must have been devastating for you. Weren't you on the verge of title contention at that time?
Yeah, I felt like I was very close. I had just came off the win for Wally Omatoso and Terrell Goucher and Austin Trout were the main event. So I thought, you know, that would be my next fight, would be one of them. And that would propel me into going to the title fight. And just that was a huge setback for me. But I mean, it's behind me now. I got this opportunity, so I'm just gonna take advantage of it now.
Okay, speaking of this opportunity, do you expect to see an improved performance Saturday night, given that you fought so recently?
Yeah, I expect myself, to be a lot better than what I was in a 72 versus fight. I owe it to myself, and I also expect it from myself because I want to, I want to prove to myself, it's okay to train in the gym and do these things to spar, do great in sparring, but I really want to go out there and prove it to myself that I can do it in a fight and be world champion.
Now, switching gears, you have an amazing backstory. Can you tell us, well, before boxing, what were you doing?
Before boxing, I was just trying to just get ahead in life, man. I was selling drugs, but it wasn't something that I really per se wanted to do, but it was something that got me money fast, and I also was playing basketball too, so I always had the competitive side of me. And I was just, I don't know, I was a lost kid, really. Product of my environment. I seen people doing it in my neighborhood, and they were making money fast, having cars and clothes and everything, and so I just went down that path.
So where did you grow up, and how exactly did you get involved with selling drugs?
So I grew up in Connecticut. I was living in Bridgeport until I was about 10. And at Bridgeport at that time was like really, I mean, it's still bad now, but it was really bad back then when in the 90s. And I was growing up there. Then I moved to Stanford because my mom wanted me to be in a better place. But then even when I moved there, it wasn't too much better because I moved to a neighborhood called the Village. So my grandma lived there. So it was just like I just went from one bad place to another bad place that um, and so the environment was the same, So it wasn't like it was just different people, but the same predicament.
So how did you find boxing then?
Boxing was something that just like I used to get into fights all the time, and it was something that was probably really an insecurity for me. I always got into fights over anything. If we had an argument, I was gonna fight. If I felt like he was picking on me, we were gonna fight because I just didn't want anybody to keep thinking that they could do that. Pick on me or beat me up. Um, so I was like, I'm just gonna get you first type of mindset. And I noticed that I had an anger, at that time, and I told my coach for basketball in high school that after I'm done, I don't want to go to college. I'm gonna go box. And he tried to talk me out of it, but now he says it was the best thing that I did.
Yeah, evidently. Do you think that's what kept you from going back to the streets, back to the bad stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, I made a decision when I got arrested that I wasn't going back, but boxing was something that actually kept me focused on not going back. Because there was times, as humans, we temptation. I started flirting back with the streets a little bit, and then I would have success in boxing, and I'm like, you know what, man, I got to focus on this. I won this tournament, an amateur tournament, and it kept me going, wanting to do more, wanting to win more amateur tournaments.
Got it. You got a late start. I think I read you were 19 when you started boxing. Do you feel that's hindered you in any way?
Slightly, but it's I mean, not really because I'm kind of on the same yearly path as the young guys. It's just that they're younger than me.
Right.
Like if I turned pro when I was 19, then I'd probably be like 24 and almost have a title. And that's kind of what they're at. Some of them are like 23 with a title, and so I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
You had an impressive amateur career. You were on the U.S. national team and so forth, won a lot of tournaments. Did you ever fight someone in the amateurs who became a notable name as a pro?
Yeah, I fought actually a few guys who've done this. Maybe not world champ now, but they're like doing their things in the pros. Edgar Berlanga.
Mm-hmm.
I fought him. I beat him at Gleason's. We had this tournament in New York. I beat him. And he's doing his thing. I mean, this kid is impressive right now.
Yeah.
He is impressive right now. He's doing his thing. We had me and Jamonte Clark have fought. He beat me in the Nationals. Who else we got? We got sheesh, I don't really know. Rashidi Ellis. Me and Rashidi Ellis. We never actually fought, but every time we were about to fight, one of us ended up losing right before the final or the semifinal.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, if I thought about it more, there's more guys, but I can't top of my head. Patrick Day, God rest his soul. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't. Patrick, man.
Yeah.
Patrick was a huge part of my career, man. Patrick.
Did you guys fight each other in the amateurs, or?
Me and Patrick fought 4 times.
Wow.
4 times, man. I fought Patrick when I first first turned open. I had like 8 fights, and I turned open. I fought Patrick, and he welcomed me to the open division.
Wow. Now you're in a pretty stacked division right now. At 154 pounds, we have the 2 champions, Jermell Charlo, Brian Castano. There's talk that they may face each other. If they do, who do you think wins that?
Charlo versus Castano. I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna go with Charlo on that one. I'm gonna go with Charlo on that. I just feel like he just spent a lot of time here. You know, there's a lot of experience on Charlo's side of being at the highest level.
Now, if you get past Nathaniel Gallimore, who would you target next?
Honestly, I really don't know. I want to get to somebody who's like challenged for a belt or is on their way there like myself, or maybe fought for a title and lost, or something around there, so I could just get another step closer and another step closer. I really want to just get closer and closer each fight. I don't want to like fight somebody who's hasn't challenged for a belt or isn't close to the title.
Now, you've been at 54 since you turned pro in 2016. How much longer do you plan to stay at that weight?
I think I could stay here for a while. I mean, I make the weight pretty easy, especially when I'm training hard and I'm doing my runs. I make the weight pretty good, so I think I'm gonna stay here for a few more years. Or, I mean, unless something opens up at 160.
Got it. So, with the late start, do you feel, obviously you're not old by any means, but do you feel a sense of urgency? Like you sort of just alluded to this, a sense of urgency to get some big things done pretty quickly?
Yeah, I do actually feel like that because there's a lot of time for these young guys to do a lot in the sport because they have so much time. So for me, I kind of need to get in, and then it's kind of like in a few years, it's my way out. I'm on my way in, and I'm out. They have like 7, 8 more years on of time than I do. So I kind of need to get in, get these title fights, make it or not make it, and move on.
It's where you were talking about being on the streets and the things that you did. You sound like this low key, really, really nice guy. It kind of doesn't go together. Are you a completely changed person now?
I would say so. I mean, even when I was on the streets, I mean, I really wasn't I wasn't a mean guy. I wasn't mean to people. It was something that just was an opportunity for me to provide for myself and for my family. So, and it was easier. So I took advantage of that.
Got it. Okay, well, to summarize everything, ultimately, what do you want to accomplish in the sport of boxing before all is said and done?
I want to be world champ. I want to have world champ status. If I could do 154 and 160, that'll be the pinnacle for me. I want to hold that belt over my head. That's it.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we know you're busy, you're training, so we really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for taking the time to just hear a little bit of my story.
Saturday, May 1st. Don't miss the return of former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz as he takes on rugged veteran Chris Arreola.
You have got to be kidding me!
Plus a stacked card of Mexican firepower. Featuring Omar Figueroa versus Abel Ramos.
Oh my goodness!
Sebastian Fundora versus Jorge Cota.
What a fight!
And Jesus Ramos versus Javier Molina.
And it's over!
Buy now on foxsports.com/PPV and watch it on any screen you want.
All right, it's time for the week in review. What a card last Saturday on Showtime, and what a performance in the main event. Rising welterweight contender Jaron "Boots" Ennis remained undefeated with a 6-round KO of former world champion Sergey Lipinets. Mike, this was supposed to be Ennis's big test. I'd say he passed with flying colors.
I think he did. The word that keeps coming to mind for me is dazzling. He boxed well early using that long jab and his quick feet. He probably could have shut out Lipinets if he wanted to fight that way for 12 rounds, but that's not who Ennis is. He started landing those hard, accurate shots. He landed like 53% of his power shots or something like that, which is crazy. He did that almost from the beginning and just destroyed a pretty tough guy. His performance underscored what I already thought. This guy is just beyond special. He might be the most complete fighter in the world in terms of his tools. I'll say it again. He reminds me of a prime Roy Jones, which for me is the ultimate compliment. All he has to do now is demonstrate that he could do that on the next level, and that's a big deal. We still have to wait and see, but man, oh man, I'm as excited about him as any fighter in the world.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, he's only 23 years old. I mean, it's scary how good he is at a young age. And you're right, he does need to prove it against the upper crust at 147, but he's just blowing through these guys right now. I mean, it's clear he's beyond this level, and the only kind of competition we'll see is when he faces that quality, when we see that quality of opposition increase. Now, to be fair to Lipinets, he did put on a pretty good fight. I mean, he was game for as long as it lasted. What did you make of his performance, and where does he go from here?
Well, I wouldn't get too down if I were Lipinets. One day he's going to be able to say, hey, I fought the great Jaron Ennis when he was just coming up. He just ran into a special fighter. And that's what happens to people when they do that. Lipinets is still a good fighter. And I don't see him giving up. That's not how he fights. I don't think that's how he is. And he shouldn't give up. I think he could still compete at a high level. He just can't beat a guy like Ennis. And I'm not sure anybody can.
Yeah, he's just scary. Speaking of who can beat Ennis, how far away is he from a world title shot?
Well, I'm not 100% sure what you mean. He's ready for it now, I think. That's a logical next step after dominating a contender like he did, which is what Lipinets is. The question is whether he can lure one of the title holders into the ring. The biggest stars, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, the biggest stars in the sport want their opponents, at least those who are a legitimate threat to them, to have a large following so they can generate, a big event and
Sure.
generate a lot of money. I think Ennis is still building that, which might mean he'll have to wait for a title shot for a bit. It'll come, though. I think he'll continue to dominate fighters the way he dominated Lipinets, which is going to force somebody to give him the opportunity. It'll come with him. I think it'll come for him before he turns 25 for sure.
So until then, who would you like to see Ennis face next?
I'd like to see him fight. Well, first, I'd like to see him fight a champion. I just don't think that's going to happen right away. So next to that, I'd like to see him fight a former champion, or at least a top contender. Somebody like a Sean Porter, a Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, maybe. I think Danny Garcia would be perfect for him. And I think he'd be ready for that once again. If not one of them, someone else perceived to be better than Lipinets would be my goal. My point being that I'd hate to see Ennis face a less respected opponent than Lipinets. I mean, I think he needs to maintain that momentum, or optimally he would maintain that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him fighting perhaps a Danny Garcia, or maybe the winner of Abel Ramos versus Omar Figueroa.
I thought of that too.
Yeah, that might be a good fight for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a slight step back and fought maybe a name like an older former champion or something like that, just something to stay busy. But I do think that he needs to continue to be tested in the ring. I like the Ramos Figueroa winner fight for him. I think that's a step up against the top welterweight. As you mentioned, I don't see a lot of the bigger names in the division being in a rush to fight him, not necessarily because they fear him, but because, at this stage of their careers, they want the biggest fights, and he's just not there yet. Now, the co-feature was another excellent battle and another step-up fight. Unbeaten Eimantas Stanionis won a 12-round decision over veteran Thomas Dulorme. Dulorme had a great game plan, put up a great effort, but Stanionis ultimately wore him down and pulled away. Mike, what were your thoughts on Stanionis' performance?
I thought he performed a lot like I thought he would. He was patient, methodical. He stalked Dulorme until he caught up with him and slowed him down, which allowed him to dominate the second half of the fight and win going away, in my opinion. He said afterward that he's still learning. He's had only 13 pro fights after all. I really liked hearing that. I think he had some trouble cutting off the ring early, although that might be because Dulorme looked pretty sharp. As you mentioned, he had a good game plan, and I think he executed it very well for a while. That's probably something he could work on. And I don't think he let his right hand go maybe enough as many times as he should have. That also might be something for him to think about. Overall, though, I thought it was a real good step-up performance.
Yeah, it certainly was, and a good performance. Who would you like to see Stanionis face next?
It's funny because some of the guys you mentioned for Ennis is guys I thought of for Stanionis. I wouldn't rush him into a title fight, even if one presents itself. If I were Stanionis, if I were advising him, I think he still needs to grow as a fighter a little bit more, which he sort of said himself. Maybe he can target a big-name fighter who isn't quite what he used to be. I thought of Devin Alexander. Is he still fighting? Andre Berto, Luis Collazo, somebody like that. Or if you want to go a different direction, maybe, and you just suggested this for Ennis, maybe the winner of Omar Figueroa and Abel Ramos would be good for Stanionis.
Yeah, and I like all those guys you just listed for Jaron Ennis as well. Maybe a Jamal James down the line for Stanionis, not just yet, but I know he is creeping up the WBA rankings. How about Dulorme, though? I mean, he did put up a good fight. He showed he was still formidable. Where does he go from here?
First of all, I just hope he sticks with it. I thought he looked good for much of the fight, as I said, and that obviously was a product of the work he did with legendary Cuban trainer Ismael Salas. Yeah. So you could tell that he was sharp. He did a good job of sticking and moving, although he just couldn't maintain it because of Stanionis' pressure. I think Dulorme can work on that and do better the next time. I think he's still a good fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to see him back in the ring again soon. Hope to see all these guys that are on this card back in the ring again soon. Now, in the TV opener, Herwin Ancajas successfully defended his IBF World Junior Bantamweight title for a 9th time. Won a 12-round decision over Jonathan Rodriguez in what was just a great battle, Mike. What was your take on the fight?
Hell of a fight. That was really, really fun to watch, and I didn't really expect it, which even made it more fun, I think. That's because Ancajas was a proven commodity, and Rodriguez was largely a mystery. Well, he isn't a mystery anymore. The Mexican can fight, which turned what I thought would be a one-sided fight into a war. I thought Ancajas won pretty clearly, but the fight was definitely competitive and really, really fun to watch. And it's always exciting to see the arrival of an excellent fighter, which I think Rodriguez proved he is.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Ancajas specifically, I know it was a great fight, but looking at the champ, what did you make of his performance?
I thought it was a good performance. I'm not sure he's ever been tested quite like that, and he rose to the occasion. He showed us that not only is he a good boxer, and he is a good boxer, he can also dig deep, like really deep. He had to dig deep in that fight and win a war. He took a lot of hard punches in order to deliver more of his own punches, which I think allowed him to win the fight. That's probably not the kind of fight that he wants every time out.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm positive of that, but he really showed us something on Saturday. One side note, man, he took some big shots and kept coming. He really has a great chin. He has a great chin.
And which bodes well because he's in a division with some big punchers. Who would you like to see Ancajas face next?
Well, he wants the big boys. He wants guys like Estrada, Chocolatitos, or Rungvisai, Quadras, that level guy. And I think he deserves a shot at one of them. I mean, wasn't that his 9th title defense? I think he's earned it. And I think he has the ability, the track record. And he's demonstrated that he could give fans a fight of the year candidate, which I guess he demonstrated that on Saturday, which is what those little guys are all about. They're all about these wars. And I think he proved that he could be one half of a war.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he's deserving of those fights as well, and they certainly would make for some fun TV. All right, it's time for our next guest. Last Saturday, he dominated and stopped the respected Sergey Lipinets in 6 rounds as he continues his assault up to the top of the 147-pound division. Let's welcome back Jaron "Boots" Ennis. Jaron, first, congratulations on your big win Saturday night.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, this was your first headliner, PBC, Showtime Championship Boxing. How much did that mean to you?
It meant a lot. It was a great experience, and I was real excited, to be the main event and put on and perform.
Boots, I want to personally congratulate you myself. That was really a spectacular performance. Have any boxers or other big name people in the business reached out to you and congratulate you? I'm sure they have.
Yeah, it's been so many people. I've been, my friends, family, and supporters like that. And then it's like some of the basketball players in the NBA, some football players, some entertainers, some rappers. Some old R&B, old school guys. Right now it seems like my fan base is just going to the roof right now, and I'm getting a lot of people's attention.
That's fantastic. Which leads us into the next question. So your highlight tweet from Showtime got retweeted by Uninterrupted, which is a brand created by LeBron James. Then Damian Lillard tweeted about you fighting Keith Thurman. You also got to ring the bell at the Sixers game. You've got to deal with the Jordan brand. Out of all those shout outs and endorsements and everything, which has been the coolest thing for you?
Just me being in the moment, just taking it day by day, being myself, and just taking it day by day, living it up.
Cool. Do you feel like you're becoming a star? Like you're in the process of becoming a star? Do you think you still need a big name or a big event to sort of get over the hump?
Like I said before, I said this fight will be the start of me, having that superstar and gaining a lot of fans, and this is like on my way to being a pay-per-view star right here. So this is just only the beginning. This is the start of it. So there's many more to come.
Boots, let's talk about the fight itself. Have you gone back to watch it? And if you have, what'd you think? How'd you rate yourself?
I watched it, but I didn't really get to watch it by myself. But I watched it, and it was like a lot of noise and stuff around. I want to watch it by myself, and I'm going to watch it tonight when I come back on. But I think I did good. But, it's always, I'm never satisfied. The job not done. I always can get better.
Now, Lipinets hit you. He did hit you clean with some power punches during the fight. Did he ever hurt you at all, or how would you rate his power?
No, he never hurt me. And some of these boxing experts, they don't really know boxing, and they think. I mean, he caught me with a couple clean ones, but most of the jumps he hit me with was like I rolled away and I took like the bar away, and they don't. These guys don't really know too much about boxing, so I don't really know what these guys have been watching. But he ain't hurt me at all. It's just me being there, doing my thing. I seen those shots that he threw. I just didn't move. I reacted to it like too late, or I was waiting too long.
So even though, I mean, you reacted too late, you took them well. You seemingly walked right through them. Does that give you confidence as far as fighting higher level opponents in the future?
Well, we're not in this game to, take no punches. It's the way you get hit. That's why I try to, even if they do touch me, I try to, take the power off by rolling it away. But, that's about it.
Right. You mentioned that it's still a learning process. Obviously, it's best if it's always a learning process. But what are you still working on?
Just working on being more relaxed, and I felt like I showed it on Saturday, and I took my time, and I feel like I really could have got Lipinets out in the third round, but I just took my foot off the gas, and I mean, I wanted this fight to be, a punishing performance, and be real dominant, and so I think I took my foot off the gas a little bit, and just went back to listen to my dad, just taking my time, and eventually, getting established later on.
Yeah, it was still pretty dominant. Let's talk about the stoppage, which is highlight reel. Did you sense him weakening, him being ready to go like before it happened?
Yeah, I felt like I said before, I felt like I could have, got him out there in the third round. But I just stuck to the game plan, and listened to what my dad and my corner was telling me. And then, I feel like I was breaking them down each and every round, and I think I just was too strong for him, and I think I was just like well-rounded, just better ability than him. I don't take nothing away from him. He's a great fighter. I thank him for giving me the opportunity to fight him and be able to take my career to the next level, and that was the start right there.
You mentioned your father. Is it comforting to have your family in your corner, to work with a father and brothers who were boxers as well?
Yeah, it's real comforting. Like I said before, I've been around this boxing game since I was little, and I was able to see, my brothers fight on ESPN, Showtime, Showbox, and the cameras was always around. So for some reason, I guess it's just all the cameras and stuff, and me, talking to the media and the interviews and everything, just like so natural for me, and it's like nothing new to me.
Well, yeah, I can see how that certainly helps. What lessons did you learn from your father and your brothers, and how do those lessons, have you applied those lessons that you learned from them?
The lessons I learned from my brothers and my dad, just stay humble, stay focused, don't let nobody distract you, don't let nothing distract you, and my brothers always tell me, just, even my dad, just stay in some type of shape because you never know where you're going to get that call. That's why I always hop right back in the gym. Even if it's nothing crazy, I'll work out for a little hour and a half. What's an hour and a half out of my time, out of each day. So, even when I'm not in camp. So, just stay in a little bit of shape, and when it's time for you to, turn it up, I don't have to go all crazy and lose a bunch of weight and stuff like that. I can just, coast out like I always do and, take my time and get in shape the right way.
You went 5+ rounds on Saturday. It looked to me as if you could have fought again the next day. When do you expect, or when do you want to get back into the ring?
I feel like I should be back in like July or August, Yeah, I mean, I felt great. I felt phenomenal. I wasn't tired. I stayed up in between rounds. I've been doing that since the amateurs. We trained 4-minute rounds, and you only fight 3 rounds, so why sit down? But I was well prepared for this fight all the way around. Even if this fight would have went to the 12th round, I would have still been, not breathing hard, throwing the same type of power punches, same speed, same accuracy.
Yeah, I was blown away by your accuracy. I think you landed 53% of your power shots, something like that. Do you pride yourself on your accuracy?
That's what we work on in the gym. We work on a lot of accurate shots, speed, power, defense, and just being smart, and just breaking our opponents down physically and mentally.
We were talking about when you might be back in the ring. Do you have any idea right now who that might be?
No, I'm not sure. Like I said before, I want all the top guys. I want to fight all the best fighters that I can fight right now. And the guys that are gonna put me in a position, to fight for those world titles, because I know I won't be able to get a world title in my next fight. But if I fight, an even better guy than what I fought on Saturday, it's only, they can't deny me.
I know you don't like to mention names, but you said an even better guy than Saturday. You're probably not going to get a world title fight for your next fight. If you had your choice, who would you be fighting next? In that category.
Like the top three guys. Who the top three guys right now? Ugas, Keith Thurman, Ugas. I'm talking about besides the champions. I mean, of course I want Smith. Of course I want Smith and Crawford and Pacquiao and Porter. But 9 times out of 10, those guys, they're not going to just pick me, and I got to work my way up. And I respect it, and that's what I'm going to do. Work my way up to a world title. And so I guess I got to fight, the guys that's under those guys. And I say like Keith Thurman, Ugas, and stuff like that.
Oh. Now, you're ranked pretty high, though, by the IBF and the WBO, and you're ranked by the WBC, I believe. Which belt do you think you'll be fighting for first?
I'm not sure, but whatever belt presents itself first, that's what belt we're going to take, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so we sort of talked about this a little bit earlier, but you're being touted by many as the next superstar. Is it difficult for you just to wait for that to unfold, to wait for that to become reality? Or are you okay just taking this whole thing a step at a time?
What, like being like superstar wise, or just?
Yeah, it's like you could probably taste it. It's like within your grasp, but you're not quite there. Is that difficult, or are you okay? I'll just wait. It's cool. Everything's fine. It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's nothing I really can do about it. You just gotta be patient, and I feel like patience and timing is key. And I definitely think that's how you gotta be. You just have patience and perfect timing.
Right. So, in summary, Boots, all this, everything that's happening now, kind of as you predicted, must be really exciting for you. You must have been dreaming about this like most of your life. How does this feel?
It feel like regular. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. it feel regular. I don't know. I guess it didn't hit me yet.
Well, or it's just something you've expected all along, and like, okay, it's happening. This is what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that too. I mean, because like I said before, I've been around this game for a long time, and I was able to see a lot of things. And like I said before, the job not done. Me winning on Saturday was great, but the job not done. The goal is, to be a world champion, and then eventually be, undisputed world champion, and then do the same thing at the next week. So that's my goal, and just to be undisputed world champion at each week that I'm in, and take over this boxing game. I'll be a pay-per-view star, and go down in history as fighting all the best fighters. Being on top.
Good way to end this. To say that we're looking forward to seeing you fight again is an understatement. We really appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations again, and it's just fantastic to watch you rise.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, for having me, and putting me out there on these platforms.
All right, Jaron, take care.
All the best.
Yeah. Thank you, too.
Yeah.
Saturday, May 1st. Don't miss the return of former heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz as he takes on rugged veteran Chris Arreola.
You have got to be kidding me!
Plus a stacked card of Mexican firepower. Featuring Omar Figueroa versus Abel Ramos.
Oh my goodness!
Sebastian Fundora versus Jorge Cota.
What a fight!
And Jesus Ramos versus Javier Molina.
And it's over!
Buy now on foxsports.com/PPV and watch it on any screen you want.
All right, it's time for Mike and I to go toe-to-toe. This week, we unveil our top 10 welterweights today. Again, this is current welterweights, top 10 list. It's a division full of some accomplished fighters and some dazzling young ones. So we're going to go in descending order. Mike, who's number 10?
I wanted to mention one thing before I dived into my list. So 10 was actually, I considered two guys. One guy I considered is the Uzbek fighter, Kudratilo Abdukakarov.
Yeah.
Right, for that number 10 spot. He's a really, really talented young fighter. I just want to see him beat a next level opponent before I pull the trigger on him. So that's my qualification going into my top 10. So number 10 for me is Mikey Garcia. I don't think we should overlook him because he's a smallish welterweight and had that one-sided loss to Errol Spence. He's a damn good fighter. I don't have to tell anybody that. He's a future Hall of Famer. I think he could still do damage at 147 pounds, as we saw in a strong performance against Jesse Vargas. I, for one, can't wait to see him fight again.
Yeah, and that's why he's my number 10 as well. I think his win over Jesse Vargas is a pretty strong win, perhaps not better than some of the wins of the guys ahead of him, but good enough for him to place number 10 on my list. My almost rans, you could say, was also Kudratilo Abdukakarov, as well as Virgil Ortiz, who I believe is right there and could easily, replace Mikey Garcia. All right, let's go to number 9.
By the way, we did not discuss this beforehand, so I have no idea what your orders. I mean, I have an inkling of what your top guys will look like, but we didn't talk. Number 9 for me, you just mentioned his name, Virgil Ortiz. 17 fights, 17 knockouts, pretty impressive. I think that says a lot. I think this kid has something going on. He can box, and he could really crack. What he did to Maurice Hooker last month was pretty brutal. Hooker's a good fighter, and he got destroyed in the end. We'll see how he looks at the next level. He's another guy. We need to see how he looks at the next level, but I really like what I see so far.
Yeah, I wanted to put him in the top 10 list, but I thought about it. I was like, I like a Jesse Vargas win better than I like a Maurice Hooker win. And other than that, I couldn't find anything on Ortiz's resume to make me want to put him over Mikey, and certainly not over my number 9, who we just discussed, Jaron Boots Ennis. We saw what he did in a tough step up bout versus Sergey Lipinets, who, by the way, Mikey Garcia fought at 140 pounds. So perhaps a better Lipinets, but it was a significantly tougher fight for Mikey Garcia. Jaron Ennis, on the other hand, just blew right through him in 6 rounds. I mean, the kid's got it all, and I expect that this time next year he'll be a lot higher on the list. All right, let's get to number 8. Mike, who do you got?
It's interesting that you named Ennis number 9. I have Ennis number 8. I actually considered him putting him higher. In fact, I considered putting him much higher, but I decided to put on the brakes. Let him. He took a nice step against Lipinets. Let's wait till he takes another bigger step. Sure. He passes the eye test with a higher grade than anybody else in the division, maybe more than anybody else in boxing. Yeah. Now, as I just said, he's passed the test by stopping a ranked fighter in Lipinets, which bolsters his resume. He just has more work to do to crack the top 5, meaning he has to beat a next level guy, and I'm pretty confident that's coming, but we have to wait for it to happen.
Yeah. And this division is full of so many names. My number 8 is Danny Garcia. Garcia has been near or at the top of this division for a very, very long time now. He's run into some hard luck losing that decision to Errol Spence, and then the close one to Sean Porter, but I think he showed in the Porter fight that he was still a formidable top welterweight, and he does have some good wins in this division. So Danny Garcia is my number 8. Now, we are at, number 7 now?
Yep.
All right, let's see what you got.
Okay, I think we're going to have all these same guys now through. There's just going to be in slightly different places. So my number 7 is Keith Thurman. Thurman is coming off that loss to Manny Pacquiao, which was surprising to me. I picked Thurman going into that fight, but he was competitive, though. He rallied and made it a close fight in the end. And he has a strong resume at 147 with victories over Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and a few other guys. I think he could still do damage if he's healthy, which is a question mark with him. I have a feeling that the long break for him is actually going to help him in terms of his health. I wouldn't be shocked if he came back and looked good in his next fight.
Yeah, my number 7 is Jamal James, the WBA regular champion. He's had, a really, really good run since that loss to your Dennis Ugas some years back, and he just continues to go. We mentioned Thomas Delorme in the Stanionis fight. Well, Jamal James beat him in his last fight. Not to mention Antonio DeMarco, Abel Ramos. Wally Amatoso, Juan Carlos Abreu, Javier Molina. I mean, Jamal James has beaten a lot of decent and to good welterweights, and now he's earned a potential big fight. And number 7 on my list for now. Now, who is your number 6?
Well, first, I just quietly groaned to myself. I sort of slept on Jamal James, actually. You know what? He's not on my list, but if I had to do it again, I'm guessing that he might be on it. So
might boot Virgil Ortiz out.
Yeah, and no disrespect to him because I really like him as a fighter, and like you said, he's getting better. He's looking good.
Yeah.
So number 6 for me is the aforementioned Danny Garcia. He's coming off that clear loss to Spence, but he was competitive and he has a strong resume, including close losses to Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. He basically fought those two guys in even terms, I thought. And I don't think he's declined much, if at all. He's still a really good fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the loss to Spence shouldn't knock him down that many rungs. I don't know too many guys in that division that can beat Errol Spence, and he fought Sean Porter pretty close. A lot of people thought he won that fight. So Danny Garcia, still a good name. My number 6 is the WBA super champion, Yordenis Ugas. Now, Ugas is another one who's kind of done this the hard way, come up the hard way. Fought Sean Porter, obviously lost that decision, but a lot of people felt that he should have won. He's beaten Ray Robinson, Omar Figueroa Jr., Mike Dallas, Abel Ramos in this last fight. Perhaps one of the most dangerous men in the 147-pound division. In fact, I think that on any night he could beat any of the other top welters, and well-deserving of the number 6 slot, maybe higher. Who do you have for number 5?
I have him a slot higher. Yordenis Ugas, number 5. I like Ugas a lot. I was there when he gave Sean Porter all he could handle. I can't remember how I scored it, but Porter was in trouble there at the end. I didn't know if he was going to win. Ugas really impressed me, and he does have some good wins. You know, that said, I think he still needs to demonstrate that he could win at the highest level. Maybe he gets his shot at Spence soon. Who knows? That kind of fight can make you a star if you win it.
Yeah, for sure. And my number 5 is a guy who did get a shot at Errol Spence, and it was an incredible fight. Showtime Sean Porter, 2-time champion at 147 pounds. He's got the win over Danny Garcia. Him and Keith Thurman fought to basically a dead heat back in 2016. A slew of great wins for Sean Porter, and he holds strong in a very, very talent-laden division. Who is your number 4?
Mr. Sean Porter. I keep thinking how hard he pushed Spence. I mean, that fight was essentially like a 51-49 fight in the end. I thought it was that close. He could have won that if just a few things had gone his way, which is saying something, giving Spence his ability. I mean, even fighting Spence is in a way like fighting Ennis to me. I mean, it's not an easy night. That's a really hard thing to do. And he has victories over Ugas and Garcia. I think he's proven that he can compete with anyone in the division.
Yeah, for sure. Now, my number 4, Keith one-time Thurman. Once the kingpin of this division, the former unified champion in this division. He's got wins over Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. You mentioned he's got a hell of an impressive resume. Of course, it's been a while since we've seen him. We'd love to see him come back 100%, fully healthy, and I believe if he does, he has a pretty good chance at reclaiming his throne. Now, I can guess, but tell me, who's your number 3?
Manny Pacquiao.
I figured. Yep.
This is a weird one because I would probably pick a few of the fighters ranked below him to beat him. But you have to give him his props after that victory over Thurman. You know, he beat him fair and square. Until Pac-Man shows me that he can't handle an elite opponent, I'm going to show him the utmost respect, even if he's 42 years old. I need to see it before I drop him.
Yeah, he keeps upsetting the odds, and that win over Keith Thurman was just incredible. Very close fight, you know, as you mentioned, but still a masterful victory for Manny Pacquiao. He's got so many on his resume. Like you, I don't know if he can beat some of the guys below him, but I wouldn't count him out against anybody, and that's why he is higher on my list than yours. My number 3 is Terrence Bud Crawford, the WBO titleist. an excellent fighter. He's shown it in the divisions below, and he's shown it at welterweight as well. Just not quite against the same level of opposition as his contemporaries, which drops him down a peg or two on my list. But make no doubt about it, this may be the most talented fighter in the division. Very skilled, brilliant technician, and my number 3.
And my number 2 is Terrence Crawford. As I said last week, I consider Crawford the number 1 fighter in the world, pound for pound. But there's another 147-pounder who is right there with him pound for pound and has accomplished more at 147 pounds. Crawford is still looking for that defining fight, which is kind of depressing if you ask me. But number 2, welterweight in the world isn't so bad.
Yeah, not at all. And my number 2 is Manny Pacquiao. You pretty much listed the reasons why he's deserving to be in the top 3. I think 2 and 3 are probably interchangeable, but that big win over Keith Thurman, even though it was July 2019, still
long time ago.
Yeah, still truly impressive. I do hope we see him again in the ring. Now, I'm assuming we both have the same guy, number 1.
Well, Spence didn't quite make my list. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, number 1 is the Errol Spence Jr. Special fighter. Love watching him fight. Respect the hell out of him. He's just a complete package. He's beaten guys like Kell Brook, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, all at 147 pounds, which means he's met every challenge he's been faced with. That's a strong resume at this weight. He's the man in the division until someone else shows us otherwise.
Yeah, without question. I mean, the unified champion and Errol Spence Jr. has the skills to boot. I mean, he can box on the outside as well as anyone. He's got an excellent jab, probably underrated defense, great ring IQ, conditioning. He can fight on the inside. He's got power in both fists. He goes to the body as well as anybody else. He's got grit. He's willing to bite down and get into a war as we saw against Sean Porter, or he can just get on his back foot and outbox you like he did against Mikey Garcia. So a truly, truly special fighter and well-deserving of the number 1 slot. That's going to do it for this week's show. Make sure you hit the link and like and subscribe button wherever you found the PBC podcast. We want to thank both Jaron Ennis and Chordale Booker for taking the time out to talk to us. Don't forget, guys, this Saturday, Fox PBC Fight Night returns on Fox at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A triple header featuring the return of Tony Harrison, not to mention prelims on FS1 beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss any of the action, as well as our next episode with more interviews and more boxing chatter on the PBC Podcast.